I was really blessed to be able to be retired, to be able to go with Jim when we went out to Riverside. And I experienced some stuff that my nephew encouraged me to do. We went to, what was the name of the church? We were going to church the Sunday morning. Yeah, we went to Harvest Church. That's the first story I'll start with. It doesn't. My brother must have, in some way been with us. We decided to go to church, and he decided, well, we'll go to a bigger church because we don't want to stick out like sore thumbs. So, he had his laptop, and he was out there like researching everything all the time. So he found this church, and he goes, I found a great church, so we'll go there. And it was right in Riverside where Jimmy Sr. lived. And we went to the church, and it was beautiful, and the service was wonderful, and I learned a lot from that. And in the service, they're talking about this gathering that they're having in that evening. It's free. It's at Anaheim Stadium. And this one goes, I'll never get a chance to go to Anaheim Stadium again. So we're going. So we went to that, and there was like 4,500 people that were at there. There were Christian bands that played, something that I never would have done. It was a great experience, and to share it with Jim it was really special. There's just a lot of great stories. First off, I just wanted to tell you about as many years as my brother was in California, and we tried to get him to come back to Illinois. He's like, no, I'm happy. My mom moved out there, my younger sister moved out there, so he had family out there. But we still, you guys come back. No, he loved it there. It was his family. And you kind of get that after a while because you're all happy where you're at and you have your family. But when we went out and met the people that were in his, the one chapter, we didn't meet, he actually was active in 2 chapters, one up by San Bernardino, but one in a little town, I can't remember the name of it, by Riverside, the Al-Anon chapter, that were his family. And I was so touched by these people. And I found there was a couple there that my brother had introduced them, and they were married. And they, because of my brother, they met, they got married, and they're happy, and they're keeping each other sober, and they're living a good life. And that was Kathy and Dennis. And I wrote down their names just so I could remember some of them. Another one that we got close to was Dane, and I can't remember his last name. But Dane lived with Jimmy for several years. When he first got sober and was trying to get clean and sober, he had a big dog, and he had nowhere to live. His wife had kicked him out. He was basically losing his family. He didn't have a job. Very intelligent engineer, architect kind of guy, and he had nowhere to go. And he met my brother at the Al-Anon, and Jimmy said, I got a room for you, you bring your dog. And so they became lifelong friends. And Dane came and helped us. He had stuff still stored at my brother's. He helped us do a lot of things that we needed to do in a short amount of time. And he's also on Facebook. If I can ever get his last name to you. But he actually, what was it?
Something like Bolger.
Yeah, we'll get it. But anyway, but he just recently bought property. He's a veteran, and disabled veteran, and he lives in the San Bernardino Mountains and has a ranch. That he was able to do that all, and he attributes it to my brother, who helped him get on his feet and keep him sober. And he told us about the fires that they used to have, like fireside guitar playing, and the whole neighborhood would come. We met neighbors that actually, because of them, my brother was discovered, because he lived by himself. So he was discovered, passed away, because they noticed, they just knew him well enough, they knew something was wrong. So they found him, and we heard stories from their son, who told him about, you should respect your dad, and you should, and he attributed so much to Jimmy straightening him out as a teenager. And he said, I just owe so much to Jim, and I think of him as my second dad. And all these people that you didn't know those lives that he touched. There was Herb, who worked with him at his security job. Gilbert came up and talked to us, and Gary and Candy and Maria and Diana and Beth and Phil and more that I didn't even write their names down. Francisco.
Frank.
Yes, Frank, who helped us with the bike, his biker buddies. So he had a whole family out there. So we got to see, you know, how happy he was and what a full life he had. And I read somewhere that we're not human beings like today when you're in church or wherever having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. So many times in your life you will feel and see things that remind you of someone who touched your life, someone who you loved, sometimes somebody you hated, but they touched your life and their spirit is with you. And Jimmy got into the Native American piece of his heritage, and he would go to the ceremonies. At the one chapter in San Bernardino, they burned sage. He got into the healing and the meditation of the Native Americans, who are very spiritual. So I just wanted you to know that side of him. And today I had a little rough moment. Luckily my Jim was there, but just realized I don't remember. I remember, I'm the oldest of 7, and I remember them becoming a part of my life. I can remember Jackie when she was little and being a baby, and I can remember Janice. I never could remember Jimmy because being that way, he was just always there. He was only 18 months younger than me, and I always had him. And I just, because of that thing that I read in a book once, because we're spiritual beings having a human experience, that I always still will have him, and you will always still have the people that you love. So that's my story, and I'm done talking now. So, I wanted to share all those stories with you because he was such, they told us, they told us stories about how he would come down on them if they were screwing up, but they said, you know, then he would always hug us and help us. And he had 2 treasured things that are hanging at the club where we went to have the memorial service, and he gave them to the club because he wanted to share with people. One was a plaque in the one room, there was another hanging, and I believe that came from you, and it was in the community room. And he didn't want to just keep it in his house, he wanted to share it. It had eagles on it, which was, that's a symbol for the AA people. It's a symbol of liberty and freeing, being free. So it had those things on it, and he wanted to share that with his family.
About the snow story.
Oh, I gotta still tell the snow story. Okay, well, one of the people told us, I had gotten up and spoke a little bit there, and I just told them that I remembered, you know, that he was my little brother, and I said, you don't know him because the Midwest part of him, and I told him about when we had that old enamel table, and we turned it upside down, and my dad would flood the back part of our yard, and we would push each other around on this table. And so I was telling him that story, and then one lady got up and she goes, well, you know, one Christmas, Jimmy went up to the mountains with his tree truck, and he shoveled it full of snow on Christmas Day. And he came down from the mountains with a truck full of snow, and he had people go out and get all the neighborhood kids, and they shoveled that snow in the California yards, and those kids could make snowmen and play in the snow, and some of them had never seen snow before. And so they said, we'll never forget that Christmas, that he took that day and went up there and did that for those kids. So that's my story. So I'm done. Anybody else? You want to talk?
No.
Thanks for letting me talk.
This young lady here,
Sure do.
you brought too much to mind.
Oh.
Oh, boy.
But they're happy
I used to go
parents.
hunting. I used to go out to Meadowdale. Boy.
Used to go out to Meadowdale?
Yeah.
Sometimes we called it Muddowdale, but.
And I either stopped before I went to see my brother, or I'd go to their house afterward. And this young lady would have all the kids lined up in all the high chairs and feeding them all. She was a mother at the age of 6. You were a beautiful individual, June.
Well, thanks to my mom.
Boy, I'll tell you. All the kids, they were a joy. They were a joy to see. And I used to try and make one of their birthdays, whenever I could or whatever, come out and, yeah, I'd give you a couple of bucks. But it was just a pleasure. And one day, a fireman friend of mine said to me, he only lived about 6 or 8 blocks away from me. And he said, hey, Ralph, what are you doing today? I said, nothing. Why? What's up? And I just happened to have some time off. Because I worked so damn many jobs, I didn't know whether I was coming or going. But anyway, he said, I'm going out to play golf. He said, you want to be the fourth guy? You'd be the fourth. I said, yeah, I'll go with you. So I got in the car with him and we started driving. I said, where are we going? He said, we're going to Meadowdale. I said, you're going to Meadowdale? He said, yeah. He said, I'm going to play with this guy. He said, I got to pick this guy up and another guy's going to meet us at the golf course. And I said, he said to me, the guy's name is Jack Peterson. I said, what the hell did you say? He said, Jack Peterson. I said, listen, you know who Jack Peterson is? He said, sure I know. I said, yeah, but you don't know he's my relative. It was really, really funny. And so I went out and we all went golfing.
At Bonnie Dundee Golf Course.
Oh, yeah.
Where you can find my dad every Sunday morning. Yeah, that was his church. That was his church.
But, your brother and I had a pretty good rapport.
Yeah, you did.
And I just wanted to know, Jimmy, where the heck ever you're at. Where do you go?
I don't know.
He's been around some kids, maybe.
Yeah.
I love them dearly, like all you kids, I wish I had more to tell you, but my stories are too long. There's too
Well,
much
someday
involved.
we'll just meet for dinner and we'll just
There's
tell
too much involved, it's just like, your mom was teed off when she found out she was my sister.
Oh, yeah?
She didn't find that out until she was 32.
Oh, and she was not happy?
But she knew that, I have to tell you that. When Esther and I were kids, I was maybe 4 or 5 and Esther was 5 or 6. We used to go over and play with your mom. She lived across the street from Skinner School at Aberdeen Street and Jackson Boulevard. And we'd be playing in the hallway. And who was the grandfather that lived there? Was that, had to be Tom Fry.
Must have been. I wouldn't know, but.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, we'd be playing in the hallway and you could look out the window. There was a window halfway up the stairway. You could look out the window and there was a car outfit. And they had all these little triangular flags flying, And my sister Esther would say to your mom, you're my sister.
Yeah, I remember my mom telling me that.
And I'd kick her, and your mom would have to walk, not that she had to walk away, but she would walk away, she'd go in the house for a minute.
You're crazy, right?
Or something, and I'd say to Esther, Esther, what the heck is the matter with you? Mama keeps telling you, don't tell her. Don't tell her that, And, but I think your mom kind of knew, Jim.
Yeah, I think so.
It didn't come into a big shock, I don't think, although she put on like it was.
Yeah.
And she said, I would have much rather gone through the depression with all my siblings. I said, June, be thankful. Be thankful. You didn't have, I said, my mother used to bake a pot of beans that had lasted 3 days. And I said,
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, if we finished in 2, I said, there was nothing the 3rd day, believe me.
Right.
I said, if you thought it was a joke, it wasn't, believe me. Those were depressions.
Oh, yeah.
And you can see evidence of it today, what's going on today. The families losing their homes and whatever, Not to be talking about this, is supposed to be a choice. The kids But,